You know that feeling? You sit down,
Yeah.
you've got that one big task you need to do, the writing, the planning, and you tell yourself, okay, deep focus time.
Right.
And then, I don't know, maybe 17 minutes later, you kind of wake up and you're staring at your phone or you're deep in some email chain that absolutely could have waited.
We all do it. It's this universal
It
experience.
really is. And you know your attention is leaking. It feels like you're trying to fill a bucket, but there are all these tiny invisible holes. So you pour in more willpower and it just drains away.
And then comes the self-blame. You think, oh, I just lack discipline because you tried some generic hack and it didn't stick.
Exactly. But what if willpower isn't really the problem here? What if we're trying to solve an invisible data problem with, very visible but surface level solutions?
That's the whole game.
Well, today we're going to change that. Welcome to the deep dive. Our exploration is called Why You Can't Fix Focus Until You Measure Attention. And our mission really is to give you a diagnostic tool, a simple judgment-free way to get precise data on your own attention patterns so you can finally see where those leaks are.
That old saying, you can't improve what you don't measure, it's like the bedrock of business, right? But for some reason, when it comes to our own attention, we just ignore it.
We just skip that step entirely.
Completely. People jump straight to fix the new app, the new system, and when it fails, they blame themselves. But the solution has to start with awareness. You have to understand your unique patterns first.
I love that framing. It shifts it from being a moral issue, like I'm not focused enough, to a mechanical one.
Exactly. I need data to fix this machine.
Okay, so let's get into the framework. We're calling this attention accounting. I want you to start thinking about your attention exactly like money in a bank account. Every time you switch tasks, check a notification, open an app, you're making a withdrawal.
And for most of us, we're just hemorrhaging cash all morning.
Right. And then we wonder why the account is empty by 11 a.m. So we need to track those withdrawals. But let's be really clear about what a switch is.
This is important.
Yeah, we're not talking about glancing at the clock or saving a file. We mean those moments that genuinely break your cognitive flow, abandoning your main task, picking up your phone.
Or the classic one-tab proliferation. You're supposed to be writing, and suddenly you have 15 unrelated tabs open.
That's the one. So when one of those happens, you need to log 3 specific things.
Okay, the first is super simple, the time. Just write it down. This alone will start to show you your peak hours versus your vulnerability zones.
Okay, the time. What's next?
Second is, what pulled you away? Was it an external thing, like an email ding? Or was it internal? Just an urge, a feeling, a thought that popped into your head?
The trigger.
A trigger, exactly. And the third, and this is probably the most critical and overlooked piece of data, is how you felt right before the switch.
How you felt.
Yes. Were you stuck? Frustrated? Maybe anxious about a deadline? Or were you just bored? Those emotions are the real drivers.
Okay, so that's the part that really jumped out at me. The feeling. Why is that so important? I mean, if I get an email notification, isn't that the trigger?
That's a fantastic question because it gets to the absolute core of this. The notification is the opportunity for distraction, but the feeling is the engine.
Okay.
So when you write down 9:47 a.m. email notification felt stuck, you suddenly realize the problem wasn't the email. The problem was the work was hard, and your brain was looking for an escape. An easy dopamine hit.
And if you don't track the feeling, you'll just blame email.
Exactly. You'll try to fix the email problem when you really need to fix how you handle feeling stuck.
Yeah.
And what's amazing is the psychology behind this. It's called the observer effect.
The observer effect.
Yeah, just the act of tracking your behavior, of forcing yourself to write it down, it makes you more aware of it in real time. It creates this automatic feedback loop.
Wait, so you're telling me I can actually get more focused just by tracking my distractions, even if I'm not actively trying to stop them on day one?
That's exactly what I'm saying. The catch, if you can call it that, is the friction. By making you pause for 10 seconds to write, I just switched, you interrupt that unconscious habit. You make it conscious.
It's like turning a light on in a dark room.
Perfectly put. Now, for the setup, we really, really recommend a small physical notebook.
Not an app.
No, the tangible act of writing is key. It adds that little bit of friction. So you just create a simple template. Time trigger feeling.
Simple.
And one last thing. Set 3 daily reminders on your phone, maybe 9 a.m., 1 p.m., 4 p.m., that just say, attention check. It's just a little nudge. And crucially, before you start a block of work, define your main task. That's your anchor.
Okay, so let's walk through what this actually feels like. Because it's not just about collecting data. It's an emotional journey over 3 days.
It really is.
Day 1 is discovery. We call it the surprise day. You're just observing, no judgment. And I have to say, when I first did this, the shock was real. I think most people find they track something like 15 to 30 switches in just a few hours.
It's staggering when you see it on paper. That fragmentation is precisely why willpower fails. You're not fighting one big monster. You're fighting 25 tiny little paper cuts.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. So at the end of day one, you just tally them up. You look for patterns. Maybe you write a simple summary like, I noticed I check email every single time I feel stuck.
Just the observation.
Then comes day two, pattern recognition.
Yeah.
And this is the frustration day.
Yes. This is where it gets uncomfortable.
Your awareness is now really high, so you notice every single switch, and it can be annoying. You might even feel a little guilty.
And a lot of people want to quit here. But listen, that discomfort is a signal of progress. That annoyance is the sound of your brain rewiring itself. It's working. You have to push through it.
Because day two is where the data gets richer.
Exactly. On day two, you add one more column, the outcome of the switch. After you get back to your main task, you quickly categorize that switch. Was it necessary, habitual, productive, or wasteful?
Okay, can you give an example? Because I think a lot of us trick ourselves into thinking a switch is productive when it's just a habit.
Absolutely. So a habitual switch disguised as productive might be: you're feeling anxious about a meeting, so you open Slack to check for team updates.
Right, feels like work.
It feels like work, but there was no specific reason, no notification. The anxiety drove the check, and the check just gave you a little relief. It was a habit. When you label it honestly, you start to see the difference.
That clarity must be powerful.
It is. And on day two, you can also start to identify your peak and valley hours. You just look at the timestamps. Where do the switches cluster? Those are your valleys. Where are the long gaps with no switches? Those are your peaks.
And then we move to day three, deep understanding, the enlightenment day.
This is where it all comes together.
Yeah, this is where we stop just counting the leaks and start calculating the actual cost.
Mm-hmm.
And the big concept here is recovery time. The research on this is pretty clear. The average time to get back into a state of deep focus after a significant interruption is 23 minutes.
It's a shocking number. And it's not idle time. It's the time it takes your brain to reload the entire cognitive context of what you were doing, the details, the variables. It's a huge unseen tax on your day.
So on day three, you start tracking that. You just make a quick note after a switch. Was it a quick return, under 5 minutes, or a slow return?
And you'll immediately see which types of switches are the most costly. Maybe the ones driven by anxiety are way more expensive than the ones driven by boredom.
That's a total game changer. That 5-minute email check could actually be costing you 40 minutes.
It often is. And day three is also when you look for a pattern we call trigger stacking.
Trigger stacking.
It's insidious. It starts with one small, justifiable switch like, I'll just quickly check this one fact. But then that cascades into checking Slack, which leads to checking social media, which leads to your personal email. You start with a valid reason and end up in a 15-minute rabbit hole.
You have to identify those stacks.
Yes. And through all this, the big realization for most people is that 70 to 80% of all their checking behavior is purely habitual. It yields no useful information. And that's not depressing, it's liberating. It means there's huge room for improvement.
So day three ends with a final integration review. How do we pull all this together?
You take 30 minutes, no interruptions, and you synthesize. You quantify your baseline. Was it 30 switches a day or 60? Then you identify your big three triggers, and you have to be specific.
So not just email.
No, it's email notifications during my morning writing session, or checking my phone when I feel stuck on the financial model.
You map your focus landscape, marking your green peak hours and your red danger zones. And you get your final breakdown. Necessary versus habitual. This gives you the forensic clarity you need to actually build a strategy.
And that's the next step, moving from data to your unique distraction DNA.
I love that phrase.
Yeah.
Because the patterns tell a story, don't they? If you see switches clustering every day between 2 and 4 p.m., that's not a moral failing.
No, that's a pattern, the afternoon fader.
Exactly. Or if your felt stuck entries are off the charts, you're a stuck switcher. You use distraction to escape frustration. Knowing your DNA is everything.
It allows you to design systems that work with who you are, not against it. If you're a sprinter, don't force a 2-hour focus block. Schedule 45 minutes, then a deliberate break.
So once you have that DNA, you shift from just being aware to taking action.
Right. Strategic intervention. And you don't try to fix everything at once. You focus only on those big three triggers. That's where you'll get the biggest and fastest results.
And the strategy is about replacement, not just resistance.
Precisely. You match the specific trigger with a specific contrasting solution. So, trigger. Email notifications during morning writing. Solution. Turn off notifications and check email only at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m.
What about an emotional trigger, like feeling stuck on financial analysis?
Great example. The solution isn't try harder, it's a replacement behavior. When I feel stuck, I will stand up and take a 5-minute walk instead of checking my phone. You break the loop without opening a new distraction.
So all of this culminates in what you call the personal focus protocol, like a one-page operating system for your attention.
That's exactly what it is. It's a simple document based entirely on your data. It outlines your peak focus window, what's banned during that time, your specific countermeasures for your triggers, and your rules for your environment, like where your phone lives while you work.
Okay, but we have to address the big objection here. The fear, the feeling that you have to be constantly available.
The fear of missing something urgent, it's a huge driver.
So how do you fight that?
You have to challenge that belief with your data, but also with a system. The truth is, true emergencies are incredibly rare. Most urgent things can wait an hour. So you create an explicit emergency protocol.
Like a back channel.
Exactly. A backup phone number, a specific Slack channel that is only for true 5-alarm fire crises. When you give people that outlet, it gives you and them the confidence to protect your focus time. You're training your team, but really you're training your own brain that 99% of things are not an emergency.
The competitive advantage here just seems massive. You're moving from being reactive to being strategic. And in today's world, that gap between focused leaders and scattered leaders is just getting wider every single day.
It really is.
So when you look back on this audit, it's not about some complex system. It's just about seeing yourself clearly, maybe for the first time. You stop guessing where your time went. You have a map.
That's it.
Your call to action then is pretty simple. Commit to the 3 days of tracking. Then do the week 1 challenge. Pick your single biggest trigger and implement one targeted change for just 7 days, just to prove to yourself it's possible.
And a final thought. You probably built your career or your company to create something meaningful, not to become a prisoner of dings and notifications. The freedom to think deeply, to actually lead, comes from basing your systems on data, not on guesswork.
Stop wondering where your attention goes.
And start tracking where it actually goes. The advantage you gain from that one simple shift will compound for years.